And welcome back. It's time for our Capitol Report with Pat McGuigan of CapitolBeatOK.com. And Pat, last week we discussed the big three topics coming out of the legislature. And though it's been a work in progress for years, workers' compensation reform is now headed to Governor Fallin's desk. How is this bill going to change how Oklahomans are compensated for on-the-job injuries?
The thumbnail is it will bring the state, it's intended to bring the state to the regional average in terms of benefits because the state is more generous in proportion to certain injuries than the other states in the region. So that's number one, and that's, it's just a flat out statutory legislation changing the benefit structure. The duration of the amount of time for a payout is going to be more limited. It's not eliminated, it's going to be more limited, and the amounts are coming down. Then second big area is cases will be heard under the new law by the administrative law judges, and I think one of the more intriguing and, if you will, elegant shifts during the course of the discussion was, hey, let's just go ahead and keep the current workers' comp judges as the ALJs, the administrative law judges. And that's intriguing because you'll have the same judges looking at seeking justice, if you will, under the new system as you've had seeking it under the old. Finally, system costs will almost certainly go down. The national group that monitors stuff like this very intently projected $125 million in system cost savings. Now, Oklahoma is an expensive, remember, we're not a poor state, but we're a comparatively poor state. And our system costs of $1 billion and the cost of business being the sixth highest in the country, this is probably going to result in savings. So that's to the good. Now the question becomes severely injured workers, how their lives, I think that's what people will be watching, is how people who just about everybody can agree need some compensation, how they're treated under the system over time. And that's going to be a long-term question. In the near term, I believe we'll see savings. It probably is as significant as Senator Bingman and the state chamber have said. In terms of the business community, we'll see what that means for the working people of the state.
Okay, one of the other big three is the issue of lowering the state income tax. Recent poll by Sooner Survey showed Oklahomans favoring lowering the income tax to 5%. And your website just reported, let me get this right, that Kansas' economy is showing growth in the first quarter, and this is after making significant income tax cuts there. Do you think these reports should encourage our lawmakers to make similar cuts here?
It certainly doesn't make the case against them, let's put it that way. It's up, the legislature and the governor are showing obvious caution in terms of income tax cuts. I've expressed in a personal commentary that I think that's unfortunate given their base, the people that elected them, the kinds of things they campaigned on. Having said that, looking at the Kansas model, to Pat McGuigan at least, does not look like an argument against income tax reduction, because this has happened in Oklahoma and has happened elsewhere. The total economic pie starts to grow when you reduce taxation, and then the question becomes for policymakers, well, does that mean we're going to have more money or maybe a little bit less? Well, in Kansas, they're more. It's quite a bit more. That mirrors Oklahoma's experience with previous small incremental income tax reductions. So certainly, the Sooner poll that came out here in Oklahoma, combined with the Kansas evidence, is kind of intriguing. Here's what the Sooner poll found: strong support for an incremental, small, modest income tax reduction, and support higher among working people than among people with greater means. I always find that interesting because the same thing was going on back in the 80s when I was in Washington with the Reagan tax cuts. Support higher in Oklahoma City than in Tulsa. Higher among Republicans, of course, than among Democrats, but pluralities even among opposition elements in many cases. So you add all that up. What it comes down to in terms of governance is spending is going to go up in Oklahoma. The question is, will the growth in the economy that's probable in the next 3 years, will it exceed the amount of that modest tax cut. That's kind of where we are now. This is not high drama, but it is a tax cut coming around the bend, and we'll get to see in 2 or 3 years if that triggers other cuts.
All right, you can read more about these and other topics at CapitalBeatOK.com. For Pat McGuigan, I'm Alex Cameron. Have a great day.